The Bears win total 5.5 under -150. Last year 3-13 straight up. How the hell are they going to win 6 games? 7-9 ATS, 7-8-1 to the under. Mainstream stats, 11 takeaways, dead last. 31 giveaways, that was 30th. -20 turnover margin, tied for last with the Jets. Offense, 5.9 yards per play, tied for 5th with the Pats. 4.6 yards per rush, tied for 5th. 7.4 yards per pass attempt, slightly above average, and 28 sacks allowed. The defense, 5.5 yards per play allowed average, 37 sacks, slightly above average. Opponent's QB rating, 93.5, and 4.4 yards per rush allowed, below average. All hell broke loose. Their fans hated the move. Hated it. And you saw it on draft day. They gave Glennon all that money, and they traded up to take Trubisky. All the Bears fans and all the guys from VSiN who are from Chicago say this team is going to be awful, and I believe them.
Okay, let's start. Okay, you just went through a ton of information, and I want to hit on a bunch of these points. All right, the Bears went 3-13 last year. Why did they go 3-13? Well, we just looked at their stats. They're tied with the Patriots with the number 5 offense in the NFL in yards per play. They're better than average rushing. They're better than average passing. They're better than average protecting the quarterback. Defense, average yards per play allowed, average sacks. Their pass defense was dicey. Their run defense was dicey, but neither were miserable. Those are not the stats of a 3-13 team. They're the stats of a 6-10 team or a 7-9 team, maybe an 8-8 team, hell, maybe a 9-7 team. So how did they go 3-13? Well, number 1, they had a quarterback problem, and number 2, their defense didn't take it. They did no takeaways. When you're -20 in turnovers, that's tied for dead last in the NFL with the Jets. And the teams that finish -20, those one of them every couple of years or two, 1 or 2 a year, that'll be in that range. They all stink, and they all get better the next year. It's the nature of football. So when you say, where are the Bears coming from? And everyone in Chicago, there's not a person in Chicago that I know of, and I know lots of guys in Chicago, that ever has a good feeling about the Bears going to the campaign and ever likes what management does. We could talk about the draft and the Trubisky move in a moment, but let's make this clear. The Bears' stats were a lot better than a 3-13 last year, with the exception of 3-13 team, with the exception of turnovers, and they have a chance, obviously. Their turnover margin will be less than -20 this year, obviously, and they got a chance to turn it around turnover-wise in a big way if the moves that John Fox and company made in the offseason can actually make this defense a takeaway unit as opposed to a crappy unit.
All right, I don't see that. I think Fox is a bad coach. He's still stuck in the 80s. He leads the league in punting from the opponent's 40 when it's 4th and 1. Cause for concern if they get off to a slow start, which they will. They'll probably put Trubisky in there, and he won't be ready. And also, I don't like their skill position players. White can't get on the field, hasn't been able to stay healthy. Jordan Howard's nice, but other than that, who's gonna make any plays for this team?
Okay, let's start with the John Fox thing, okay? I'm not in love with John Fox, and I'm with you on some game management stuff. That makes me nuts. That being said, John Fox took the Carolina Panthers in their 2nd year of existence. They were an expansion team. He took them to the Super Bowl, to the NFC Championship game, and then later the 2nd year they were in the championship game. Later they went to a Super Bowl. Then you look at what happened in Denver, and obviously he took another team to a Super Bowl. So you say, all right, this coach's time is...
No, he did not. Not in Denver. That was Kubiak.
He didn't win the Super Bowl. He took them to the Super Bowl. Yes, no question. He didn't win the Super Bowl in Carolina either, but he took 2 different teams into the Super Bowl. You can't tell me that the guy doesn't know how to coach on some level when you've gone that far twice. Okay? Once could be a fluke. Twice can be a fluke. Maybe. There's something to like about John Fox. And everyone was like, last year, 2nd year, here's John Fox. Everything's going to go right for Chicago. And everything went wrong. And now they're saying, oh, well, 3rd year, he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. Maybe the improvement comes this year as opposed to last year. Let's look at the draft before we get into the skill position talent stuff. Obviously, the big move for Trubisky, the number 2 pick, he's being called a tight end, Adam Shaheen. He's an athlete. Then you're talking about 4th round and 5th round guys. So really, the top 2 picks in the draft, Chicago can't expect to get a ton from this year. Trubisky's got a shot to start. Even though they paid Mike Glennon, certainly has a shot to start. If the season goes in the tank, Trubisky likely will start. But when you look at how Chicago might be better this year compared to last year, it's not going to be because of the draft.
Another thing, they've been horrible for a long time at home. 6-18 straight up the last 3 years in an ATS disaster.
Yeah, and really, you can go back further for the ATS disaster. I mean, they've been very, very, very bad point spread team at home for a number of years. Everyone says, oh, the Bears are going home. They're live. You know, that's your classic talking head comment on TV. There hasn't been a home field edge at Soldier Field. And when I make my home fields, I do it each individual team, and the Bears are always near the bottom for home field advantage. But let's talk about what's right. You don't like the skill position talent, I'm there with you. You don't like the quarterback position, no problem. Let's talk about the rest of the roster, because they made a lot of good moves this offseason. I know they used only one draft pick on a defensive player, but they signed Quentin Demps, and I know he's not a young safety, but he's someone who will help. And they got Prince Amakumara from the Giants. I think that's a good deal. They got Marcus Cooper, who's looked decent for the Chiefs and the Cardinals. That's 3 upgrades in a secondary that was awful last year. 3 new starters, and all 3 of them are upgrades over anyone was on that team a season ago. Now, the other thing that Chicago has that makes me think that they may be better than people expect this year, their offensive line's rock solid. You know, you have the left guard in Josh Sitton, the center Cody Whitehair, the right guard Kyle Long. All 3 of those guys, I don't know if they're Pro Bowl caliber, they're solid players. They've had problems at the tackle positions in Leno and Massey, but overall, that offensive line, I think, is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. So the secondary's been upgraded, the offensive line has been upgraded, and those are 2 areas where the betting markets sometimes don't exactly get excited about, and they matter so much over the course of the season. I'm not as bearish on this team as you are, Pauly. I'm really not.
You're a piece of work. I see in the schedule, with the schedule breakdown, you can see they could start 1-7. Yet you somehow think they're going to win 6 games, but you think they're going to start 1-7.
Well, okay, the Bears are exactly the kind of team. I'm telling you, I'm pretty good at season wins. You know that, okay? They're exactly the kind of team that starts the season 1-7, 2-6, and then goes 5-3 in the back half with a lame duck coach after Fox has been fired and Trubisky wins them game, and they win 6 games to beat you. I'm telling you. And of course, remember, they opened 5. South Point opened 5 on the Bears. A lot of books opened 5. And all the early money came in on the over. The very first bets were coming over on Chicago. It's only later that we've seen a little bit of under money come in. That's why it's -150 on the under right now. But you look at this schedule, yeah, it's tough. And the first half is absolutely brutal. The NFC North faces the AFC North and the NFC South. There are 2 extra games at Philadelphia and San Francisco. You can split a 1-1 right there. But when you look at the start of the season, they have Atlanta, at Tampa, Pittsburgh, at Green Bay. That's 0-4 written all over it. I'm with you. And at 0-4, all of a sudden, Trubisky's in play and everyone comes out. But if they could steal one of those games, maybe all of a sudden things get a little bit easier. Because certainly the back half of the campaign, when they get the Lions at home and they get the Browns and they get San Francisco and Cincinnati, 2 games against the Lions on home and road, they have a chance to finish the second half of that season with 4-4 or 5-3. I'm not betting this team under, Pauly. I'm just not going to do it. I think there is hope for Chicago, and from a point spread perspective, I think we'll make money with this team this year. I really do.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.